Hello and welcome back to another episode of Skids and Donuts. In the last video, you probably would have seen on the 240, I couldn't get it started at the end, for whatever reason. I've since been able to get it started, I got it in gear, and I managed to drive it all of a metre down the driveway. There's a clip of that right here. But for whatever reason, it then decided to stall, and I can't get it started at all now. There's two things that is going through my head at the moment. The booster pack that I have for the car isn't great. I can get all of 30 seconds of cranking time out of it. The second thing is, the battery for the car, dead. So my attempt at the minute is to try and revive that battery using some bat aid, and then see if we can get it charged. Apparently it revitalizes old batteries, prolongs life of good batteries, and removes harmful deposits from batteries. And the reason I went for this stuff is because apparently it can get rid of the lead sulfates in the battery, which if you leave your battery discharged long enough, that's what forms, and it's why, say, even if you jump start the car, it will never hold the charge, it just won't even charge. So hopefully this stuff will fix this dead battery. So that was recorded a few days ago. It didn't work. We'll get the battery charger connected, and unfortunately all you get from that point on is this constantly clicks. My guess is there is an internal short in the battery, because the booster pack also did the same thing where it just constantly clicked. So that's dead. However, there is a backup plan. If you've watched this video here, you know that my BMW is off the road at the moment because the timing chain snapped. So it ever so kindly donated its huge battery. It is start-stop, but I think it's fine. So I'm going to stick that in the car, crank the absolute living shit out of it, and hopefully it will start. So fingers crossed. Ooh, look at that. Look at that floppy gear stick. I do have new bushings for that too, so let's see. Oh my god. It has never cranked that well before, Jesus Christ. As you can see though, for whatever reason, it won't start. Oh. Thought I spoke too soon then. See if we can let it prime for a minute. Alright, let's try again. Nothing. I think it's not getting the right amount of fuel. So if you've got a kjet, in here is a lifting plate that determines how much air comes in. That plate will then lift up and determine how much fuel actually comes through to the injectors. Really simple system, but it can get clogged if you don't run the car enough. In this case it was sat for about 12 years, and although I've ran it a few times, well, a number of times, it's still quite old. It could have, anything inside could have gone bad. But I've found if I get a stick in there and push that plate up a few times to sort of move the plunger up and down, sometimes it will then allow it to work. But we'll find out. Alright, so now I've prodded the car's guts. Just trying to start it. I do want to get rid of the kjet at some point because it's you can't really buy parts for it now, and the parts you can get for it, super expensive. Like that plate that I was just on about, they're about 350 quid new. You don't really want a used one, and I do not have the expertise to rebuild one. But let's see if that worked. Ooh, nearly. Come on. Maybe the cold start injector's playing up, dumping too much fuel in. Oh no, I've kept it unplugged. Sometimes that plays up the fifth injector. Let's plug it back in and just see if that is an issue. Oh! Yes! Oh, it's dying though. I might hold the revs up for it. I'm happy about that. But I'll hold the revs on this, let it get steady, and then hopefully reverse it up the drive a bit because it's almost in the road at the moment. So I've got it to start a few times. That battery has been absolutely phenomenal. Just taken the dizzy cap off, and I don't know if you can see it very well on this camera. There's a lot of build up on the end, so I'm thinking it might not be getting the spark it needs to. I don't have a spare dizzy, so I'm going to try and clean this up and see what we can do. So my question of does it not have enough fuel may be correct. You see that thing there? That should spray constant fuel as I crank, but it doesn't. So if you watch this, nothing. So I don't think it's getting the fuel it needs to for some reason. So I don't know what the next step is here. Maybe it is just the kjet system's just that old and clogged now. But it's got a brand new fuel tank, brand new fuel. Well, this plate is filthy again, and I don't know if you can see that very well. That's evaporating already, but that was soaked in fuel. So I think our culprit might be, yeah, it's a bit dirty as well actually. I think the culprit might be this cold start injector. But it starts sometimes without it, sometimes it starts with it, so maybe it's dumping way too much fuel through. So this here is the plate I was talking about, so that's your intake at the bottom here. As soon as air comes in there, this plate lifts up, depending on how much this throttle is open. So you open that more, that sucks more air in, which lifts this plate up more. So when it's like that and open, more air can come in, and that also lifts a plunger up in there, which allows more fuel to go through. Okay, so I've cleaned off the pressure plate now, refitted that. I've put the injectors back in. I've checked for air leaks everywhere. I've kept the 5th injector off for now, just in case that's putting too much fuel through. It shouldn't really be on today anyway, because it's like 15 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to crank it over and see if we can get it started again. It started a few times and revved quite fine, and then cuts out. So fingers crossed. Nothing. Right, let's try putting the 5th injector back in. Pain in the arse this stuff is. If anyone's got an LH 2.4 kit or knows how to do it, please come over. The fuel pump's still going. I don't know if you can hear that. So my really bad idea of an experiment is I've got my file pushing the pressure plate up slightly, and I'm going to try and crank it and see if that forces fuel through. And if it does, that means the kjet system needs a full rebuild. I even heard the kjet go then. That might be too much fuel now though. But if you listen carefully, that screaming sound is the kjet. That's the injectors. That's how they should sound. Oh man. Got this in order. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'll take the 5th injector off now that I'm pushing more fuel through. I may have already flooded these cylinders though. Still nothing. Weird. There's our culprit. It's flooding the cylinder with way too much fuel. I don't know why it's doing that. Stop! Because if that's constantly leaking, that will explain maybe there's just too much fuel going through that it can't spark. That is a possibility. So I think the kjet system needs a rebuild, and I think it's probably easier to buy new than rebuild it. I think you need like a dust-proof room to rebuild these things apparently. I think sending it off to somebody is going to be the same price as new, maybe. I've also got no contacts for it. You can't even Google it. It's such a rare fuel system now. So if you have any advice on this, or any advice on like an LH 2.4 swap, or maybe even a carb swap, it'd be perfectly fine in the carb. So that, or just fucking engine swap it. I'm that fed up with it now. So yeah, drop them down below if you've got suggestions. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. I'm not